I'm interested to hear you tell our viewers your story. How did you work and make the system work in a way that you were able to rise through it, a system that so often, it seems, does not work for Black Americans? What was it that you did that you can apply to help others move up and along?
Thank you for having me. What I did was not necessarily simple, and it was not necessarily easy, but I was very fortunate in my career earlier that I had someone who was not just my mentor, but it was someone who was my sponsor in the organization. It was someone who knew what I was capable of doing and who understood the drive that I had and the desire that I had to move up in the organization. And he had the ability to speak for me and on my behalf. I also did the thing that some people aren't willing to do. I said yes to most of the assignments that I was asked to do, even the ones that would have been stretches for me or the ones that I was not necessarily sure I was going to be able to achieve. I said yes. And it wasn't because I didn't think I could do it necessarily. It was because I wasn't sure that the organization would let me do it. And I think that's a key factor. When the organizations present the opportunities, we have to grab them. But the problem is often our Black talent is not receiving those opportunities. And so I was very fortunate that I had someone who knew what I was capable of and who would continue to give me opportunities and give me exposure. And that allowed me to move up in the organization and to have a really extraordinary career.
And the power and the ability to say yes to opportunity. Let me just probe a little bit more here. Was this individual someone whom the organization paired you with intentionally, or was this just someone who reached out to you and you connected with, and this individual who you described as a male, was this person a white male or a fellow Black American?
So if you have to think about 22 years ago, we weren't necessarily talking about mentors and sponsors the way we are today. This was 22 years ago. It happened to be a white man, and he was the person who hired me into the organization, and he was the person that I reported to for the first 7 years I was with the company. So he had a very good line of sight to my capabilities and my skill sets. He also had a line of sight to what my desires were and what he knew I wanted to do with my career. And we worked together to make sure that that happened. And he would challenge me to do things that I was not necessarily comfortable with. So what I would say is that was an opportunity for me that was cultivated through a relationship. It wasn't necessarily something that happened based upon an automatic pairing, even though I'm a huge advocate of that because sponsorship is so critical to the success and the development and moving up in corporate America.
Whether it is a fact or not, I sense there is a feeling, probably a well-founded feeling, that Black executives have to do twice as much, be twice as good to get half as far. Do you feel that way? Or do you think your fellow Black executives often feel that way?
I think that is a very common feeling. I think it's actually something that we as Black people are raised with. Our parents, our grandparents tell us that from the time we are small. You have to be twice as good to get half as far. And if you actually look at it, I mean, you mentioned that there are only four Black CEOs in the Fortune 500. The reality is there is a lot of extraordinary talent out there, and there should be more. Those numbers should be different. And so I definitely do believe that. When I look at the C-suites, when I look at corporate boards, the diversity numbers are very low for Black people. Those numbers should change because the talent definitely exists.
Well, that's what I want to probe a little bit with the time we have left. People point to it's a very complex issue with obviously historical, roots, I guess you would say. What is, in your view, the fundamental thing that could change? Is it a pipeline issue? Is it an issue of intention on the part of corporations? Or is it just that there isn't the follow-through? Where there is good intention, there isn't the follow-through? What is it that could make the biggest difference quickest?
The decision around the diversification of your Black population into your organization has to be one that's made with clear intent and with accountability. One of the things we all know is that in corporate America, what gets done are the things that get measured. If this is not a part of the foundation of your organization, a part of the fabric of your culture, then it's not necessarily going to be the thing that people pivot to make sure happens. You have to be intentional. You have to make a conscious decision that we are going to invest in our Black talent. We're going to create the opportunities for them to have stretch assignments. You're going to provide them not just with mentors, but with sponsors so that they actually get the development they need, so that when they are on the table as someone who's being considered for a role, they have had the proper opportunities from your perspective as an organization for you to deem them to be qualified. It has to be something that is done with intent and with accountability. I believe it's something that should be reported to the board. They need to understand what you're doing as it relates to your Black talent, and you need to share with them intermittently how much progress you've made. Because if you're not doing that, then it is one of the things that can easily go to the wayside because so many other business demands get in the way. And actually, your talent is what's going to handle those other business demands. And your talent, especially your Black talent, is going to help you as it relates to your bottom line. So I think it's the intention. It's also staying the course. It's the commitment. And it's when you get frustrated, realizing that you can't walk away, you have to continue.